If you're running a CPA firm, you already know the pressure is just relentless. You're constantly trying to balance top-tier client service with, staying profitable, especially during peak season. But what if there was a way to break that cycle? Today, we're going to explore a powerful strategy that's really reshaping how firms operate: offshore accounting.
So, does this question hit a little too close to home? The tax season crunch, the insane cost of specialized talent, and that constant uphill battle to protect your margins? It's a very real, very pressing challenge that so many in the industry face year after year. Let's get specific about that squeeze. We're talking about the high salaries you have to pay for temporary staff, those massive overtime bills during crunch time, and even lost revenue just from workflow bottlenecks. It's this vicious cycle that can literally stop your firm from growing. And the impact goes way beyond the balance sheet. It hits your most valuable asset, your people. Your best staff get totally overworked and burned out, which leads to costly turnover. And all the while, your firm's growth just stalls out. It's a tough spot to be in, and honestly, it's just not sustainable. This is what we call the CPA profit squeeze. It's a super common challenge, but the good news is there is a strategic solution. So let's walk through the roadmap for how we're going to tackle this. All right, here's our game plan. We've just covered the profit squeeze. Next up, we'll dive into the offshore solution. Then we'll look at why India is such a key hub, talk about how to manage this whole process to get maximum savings, tackle those big questions around security, and finally, show you how this all becomes your strategic advantage. So how in the world do you escape the profit squeeze? Well, that brings us to the offshore solution. It's a strategy that's all about protecting those hard-earned margins without ever compromising the quality of your work. So what is offshore accounting exactly? The easiest way to think of it is as a strategic partnership. You're basically collaborating with skilled professional teams in another country to handle specific accounting tasks. And the goal is simple: slash your operational costs while keeping or even improving your high standards of service. And the financial impact? Oh, it can be immediate and pretty significant. You're looking at lower labor costs right off the bat, a huge drop in those killer overtime bills for your in-house team, and the flexibility to scale up for seasonal work without getting locked into long-term commitments. On top of all that, faster turnaround times often mean fewer of those costly little errors. Now, this strategy can work with teams all over the globe, but there's a good reason so many firms look to one country in particular. So why India? Let's dig into why it's become such a strategic and frankly popular destination for US firms. This is really where you see the advantage. I mean, India has this incredibly deep pool of professionals who are already well-versed in US accounting standards, we're talking US GAAP, and IRS rules. Their whole approach is process-driven, which means you get consistency and accuracy, and crucially for tax season, you get rapid scalability. You can expand your team exactly when you need it most without that burden of long-term overhead. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get practical. How do you actually manage an offshore team to maximize your savings and efficiency? Well, this is all about smart management. Success with this model really hinges on execution. First, you have to plan early. Onboarding your offshore team before the chaos begins is absolutely essential for a smooth start. Second, be crystal clear about who does what. This part is key. Let the offshore team handle all that time-consuming prep work, freeing up your in-house experts for high-value client strategy and review. Then you standardize everything with templates and SOPs to ensure consistency. You integrate your tech for seamless, secure collaboration. And finally, you just lean into that scalability. Flex your team up or down as you need to. It gives you incredible agility. Of course, none of this matters if it isn't secure. So let's tackle that head on. Because this strategy isn't just a cost saver. It's a long-term investment in your firm's secure and sustainable growth. Let's just address the biggest concerns right out of the gates. Data security. Look, reputable offshore partners use secure, encrypted IT systems, restricted data access, and ironclad confidentiality agreements. Quality control, that's managed through continuous performance monitoring and really robust, clear communication channels. And compliance. The entire process is built from the ground up to follow all IRS disclosure requirements. It's really about de-risking the strategy from day one. And this is where a seasonal fix really evolves into a long-term growth engine. It creates sustainable cost management all year round. It gives you the flexibility to finally say yes to new clients you couldn't take on before. It dramatically reduces burnout and turnover on your core team. And maybe most importantly, it frees up capital and talent, which lets you invest in what truly drives future value: high-level advisory services. So let's bring it all home. This isn't just about saving a few bucks on tax prep. No, this is about fundamentally reframing your firm's capacity and turning what was a cost center into a powerful strategic advantage. Ultimately, it all boils down to this: protect margins without sacrificing the high-quality service your clients expect. See, the goal isn't to make a choice between profitability and quality. A well-executed offshore strategy really empowers you to achieve both. So, we'll leave you with this final thought. Just imagine if all that repetitive prep work was handled and your best people were freed from that cycle of burnout. What could your firm build? What new advisory services could you launch? Which new clients could you finally serve? That, right there, is the true potential of this strategy.